Welcome to another episode of the Leading Lessons podcast, connecting with industry leaders across the country, talking about what they have learned along the way. And this week, I actually get to talk to one of my nearest friends right here in Charlotte, North Carolina, Chris Buxton. So, Chris, thanks so much for being part of the podcast this week, man.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
So, I know that you do a whole lot. I've known you for just a few years. We actually met at a bar one day. So, talk to me a little bit about who is Chris Buxton.
One, Chris Buxton is not my government name. It's more or less kind of like a moniker I created. But basically, I've been a music artist, salesperson, and now, COO of a soccer media brand, Drip FC.
I want to break those individual things down a little bit. So let's first talk about your music career, because I think that's where your name is the most recognized.
So when going to my music career, I was in the music industry for about 8 to 10 years. Started off as a solo act in college, just wanted to do something. Growing up in kind of a more sheltered household, I was just itching kind of to, get out there and just be a part of the world. Music has run, in my family for a while. My uncles were in bands. They sang in the church choir and everything like that. And then once I got to college, it was more or less I was playing college soccer, got suspended, and then I was like, what am I going to do next? Picked up a mic, started writing songs, and then boom, my career kind of just shot off. Basically got signed by Skizzy Mars early on in my career, did the whole festival route, tours, everything you can think of. And then, yeah, that's kind of where my music career was.
That's awesome. So talk to me about the early days. You said that you
Yes.
kind of started in college as a solo act. What was that process like trying to build that reputation? Now, you have millions of listens on Spotify. I'm tempted to actually start playing some of my favorites on here. So talk to me a little bit about what those early days look like.
So I had already kind of created music in high school already. So there was already that kind of just love for music in my life already. And then when I went to go play at Queen's University of Charlotte, my goal at that point was just to strictly focus on soccer, end up going into business after that. But after I got suspended, it was kind of like, it kind of put me at a crossroads where I was forced to think about what I'm going to do next. And what I kind of gathered at that point in time was soccer wasn't my love anymore. I didn't know kind of if business and where I was taking the route from a school standpoint was it either. And then I just kept going back to music. Every chance I got in my freshman dorm, I was either writing songs or I was trying to connect my friends with newer artists. And then after I transferred to Winthrop, it was like, okay, I'm in a new place. I want to go 100% into this. And then I started recording full time, putting everything I had into it, whether it was money just I was getting from, working at the Y over the summer. I was using that money to pay for recording sessions. And then when 2016 came, that's when I would say, the life changing year in my life because I came out with my song Remember, if you've ever heard of it. I throw it all away. Girl in the City. And then after I released the OC in May of 2016, which was like the second part of my sophomore year, I got reached out to by Skizzy Mars, who's a frequent collaborator with artists like G-Eazy, Marky Basie, and he asked me to be a part of Penthouse Music. As a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, I was super impressionable. I was like, yeah, this is life-changing. And then from there, I was able to kind of build a career off of being around the right people, and that gave me access to start traveling, whether it was through to LA to do festivals or breakaway Charlotte, and then take my talents outside of just the local Charlotte scene.
That's incredible, especially starting from the early days, probably recording in a closet,
Yep.
just kind of siphoning by yourself. And, now I'm looking at your most popular song being Remember with nearly 2 million listens on Spotify.
It's
Looking
crazy.
back, yeah, exactly. That's incredible. Looking back, what would you tell that early stage of yourself saying it's gonna be okay?
This is actually a really great question. And the funny thing is when I recorded Remember, I remember sitting in my dorm room after I like recorded and everything, and I was like, I can't put this song out. It's too personal. This is, I don't want to come across as emotional or, I don't want people to, because back then being a music artist was all about the mystery. You don't want to give people too much. And I remember sitting in my dorm room just thinking the same thing. If I could go back and tell myself anything, it would be like, you've got to release this song because this song is not only going to play a pivotal part in your life now, but even 8, 9 years later, you're going to go through stuff that you're not even mentally prepared for. that you're going to come back to this song and realize, hey, you got to remember everyone that's made an impact on your life to keep moving forward. And, that's what Remember's all about. It's about remembering those people, your loved ones, your family and friends that create space for you to become who you are, and then taking that and reminding yourself that you're here for a reason. And, that's what I would say.
Absolutely. And, quite frankly, I think that you wrote that song at one of the most pivotal parts of your entire life, because I know that you suffered a very heavy loss around that same time and over the next couple of years. So looking back on it now, like if you were to give advice for someone trying to build that career for themselves in the music industry, they want to start they have that aspiration of being recognized for the work they're doing. What advice would you give someone that's starting out, maybe within the first year of their?
I would tell them to really dig deep and make music that you genuinely like. And I believe in this kind of mindset that if you can make the music that you like, the people will come at the end of the day. And when you're making music that you genuinely love, you won't lose that fire to keep creating. And that's pretty much what I would tell them.
Awesome. And looking back on it, obviously everyone's journey is a little bit different. In hindsight's 2020, what would you have done differently along that path that may have put you in a different position than you are today?
That's another great question. Here's what I will say. I don't regret anything in life. If I could, what I would say is this. There are things that I would have done differently, as in maybe I would have been less selfish with how I pick certain deals. I think at that time, being 19, 20 years old, you've got the world at your feet in some sorts, and, people are asking you, to sign deals and et cetera. And at that time, being independent was what everyone pushed. And I think I let the thought of being independent, getting 100% of the pie, distract me from the fact that you need a team of people that really believe in you to get you out there. So I do think to some degree, I, stunted my own growth by wanting to take it all for myself.
Wow. I mean, I think that speaks testaments to life, because no one's a self-made millionaire. Everyone
No.
or self-made success. They have to have that people in their corner. And you also mentioned something that I didn't even know about you. Talk to me a little bit about what that suspension was like in college, because I think that's a really good segue into what projects you're working on currently.
Yeah, so, for my whole life, since 4 years old, soccer was my love. And that's all I wanted to do was play soccer. Played at some of the highest levels at the club ranks, and then I ended up getting an offer to go play at Queen's University of Charlotte. The funny thing is about this is this. I did not even want to go to play at college. I think if I could go back, I would have taken a gap year to really find myself in what I wanted to do. But with the hype around me as like a local standout, it was almost like, okay, this is just the way life has shaped up to be, and this is what I have to do. So I get to Queens, I'm starting, getting some minutes here and there, and then I just remember, not being prepared for the world. So I let distractions, whether it was drinking, X, Y, and Z, kind of take over my life. I got, was doing a lot of partying, and then suspension came, and it put me at one of my lowest points, and that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to a good buddy of mine recently that played some both professional and college ball for basketball. And when you take that step into playing professionally, or you take that step into playing for college, which is really just, early professional, because you're still doing it at a very high level, it turns from a hobby into because you have to be able to show up every single day, not only for your teammates, not only on the pitch, but you have to be able to show up in the classroom. You have to be able to show up for all those additional responsibilities as well. So for somebody that might be making that transition into wanting to play collegiate sports, what advice would you have for them to make that transition?
I would say you genuinely need to love the process. And kind of touching on what you just said is, yeah, when you're playing collegiate sports, it becomes a job. If you don't think that if you don't have the mindset that you're willing to go 100%, whether it's practice or, your diet, X, Y, and Z, then playing collegiate sports is probably not for you. And I think that was one of the biggest realizations for myself is, I'm partying, living, a Blue Mountain State lifestyle, and I'm seeing guys on the team that, are taking it way more serious than I am. And that was one of the reasons why I had to step away from the game as well. It was like, I don't think I deserve to be here and be getting the amount of time and effort from the coaches when you're putting your 100% in. So if I'm a player coming up now, like I said before, trust the process, really love the game, And then on top of that, have the mental fortitude to keep going, even if things aren't going your way at first. As I've seen with my brother, who's a now professional soccer player, and as I've seen with some of my teammates that played with me at Queens that weren't starting their freshman year, sometimes it's just not your moment. So always be ready and give your 100% because when that moment comes and you're prepared, you're going to take full advantage.
Wow. I mean, the fact of the matter is being able to capitalize with the opportunity you have in front of you, whether it's a couple minutes or just a moment, is so, so important because there's so many people that when their moment does come, if they haven't put in the work to be able to perform at that specific time, that can really make them completely deviate from every other path they could be on.
Yeah.
And I think that experience for you playing collegiately for, at Queens has kind of set you up for your new project. So talk to me a little bit about what Drip FC is and what your involvement is with the organization.
Yeah, so Drip FC is a multimedia soccer brand. It's apparel, it is culture. It's basically the intersection of footy style and culture. We have multiple facets, multiple different arms. Like I said before, we have our apparel side of the company. We have our media side of the company, that takes care of, covering professional sports, covering college game, covering youth soccer across the country. And then we have our activations. Our activations would be considered, us playing in TST over the summer where we, get a group of players from all aspects of life and take them to Raleigh, North Carolina and allow them to play at some of the highest levels against ex-pros, celebrity X, Y, and Z. But as a COO, I'm in charge of, keeping up with the day-to-day business, making sure that the operations are running smooth, making sure our teams are all aligned so that we can, fulfill and, attack our goals.
So how did that idea come to be? I know you mentioned that your brother's involved with the organization as well.
Yes.
How do you guys work together as brothers without, strangling each other? But also like how do all the cogs work together at the end of it?
Perfect. So I'll get into the origin of Drip FC. So while my brother was playing at Clemson, he had a huge TikTok base. And basically what he started was a series called Drip or Skip where he would rate soccer players that would submit to him. And basically he would either rate it a drip or a skip, kind of like hot or not kind of thing. And then it gained a lot of traction. Then, he ended up winning the national championship, scoring 2 goals. So there was a lot of hype around him. After his senior year, he ended up going and playing in Houston, and then he kind of revisited the series when he got injured, and then he was like, hey, we need to monetize this company. There's a lot of people that, are within, our culture, and I think this is something that we can take and make bigger. So along with him, we've kind of set up a space where we're able to, take that culture aspect of the game and kind of bridge it out into, nationally and globally. Now, as far as fighting, me and my brother have always been best friends. So it's like working with him is pretty easy. I don't play into the astrology kind of thing, but we're both Tauruses. We know each other well. We know our strengths and weaknesses, and it makes it very easy to kind of pick each other up when we're down or, give motivation when we need it.
That's phenomenal. And I think that it speaks testaments to kind of what that process was like, even growing up, being able to work together and now being able to build something together. So for you, I mean, where do you think the future of Drip FC goes? I mean, I know you mentioned TST. I know your brother's back to playing or almost at 100%. So I think that's incredible, God given. What's next for the organization?
I mean, I can't give too much away, but what I will say is, we plan to continue expanding. And, you can think the likes of Overtime, Slam. We want to be we want to move and run the culture of soccer. I think sports are in a very weird space right now. I think there are a lot of people that have opinions, and I really want to bring the fun back to the game. And I think that's what our goal is. With the World Cup coming next summer, All-Stars coming to Charlotte, we want to be the epicenter of what is cool and where you want to aspire to be when you're a professional player, youth player, collegiate player. We want to be where you want to come to showcase your style, showcase your play, and then just showcase and build your brand. With social media, being a huge facet in a lot of people's lives, now more than ever, we're seeing players build their own brands, and we want to be a platform for those players to not only, improve on their, their personal game, but also improve their brand so that they have something to do outside of soccer or from soccer and beyond.
So, what's the most rewarding part about Drip FC as it stands right now?
I think the most rewarding part for me is being able to help people. Even with the TST campaign that we ran over the summer, a lot of those guys were ex-collegiate ballers or ex-pros that, didn't have contracts. And then after the tournament, we've had 3 guys sign contracts with professional teams. It's the ability to give people a second chance. Think of shows like Last Chance U. Just the ability to help people reach their potential, I think, is the most rewarding part of being in Drip FC.
That's huge. That's absolutely huge because everyone deserves a second chance. So for you, I mean, you have your music career kind of behind you, but still reaping the benefits. You're working on Drip FC, but you're still in sales. So talk to me about how all of these things kind of collide and what you're working on right now.
So from a music standpoint, I think the music industry gave me an understanding of the do's and don'ts of the entertainment business, which Drip FC sometimes dips into, kind of the, cancerous nature that can be there and what to look out for. I think from a sales perspective, it's allowed me to learn how to communicate to people. So taking the communications part from, sales, taking the media and entertainment understanding of the music industry. And then, there was a 2 or 3 year period where I was working for Top Bin 90, taking that and understanding the soccer industry and then kind of putting it all together has made me so prepared for where I'm at right now, because there's just so many different facets that we face on a daily basis working within this company that I think if I had, not taken a step in any of those directions, I wouldn't be prepared.
Now you're talking about your experience, like you're a 55, 60-year-old guy. You've done a lot in a short period of time, right?
Yeah.
For somebody coming out of school to have these types of experiences, to be able to put this kind of stuff on their resume, what would you recommend for them to be able to start stacking those wins and stacking that experience to set them up longitudinally?
Great question. I won't speak for everyone, but what I will say is go to where you're appreciated. Me and you both can probably attest to the fact that we've probably worked jobs where we weren't always appreciated and how hard that can be to wake up in the morning and, go work that 9 to 5. But what I will say is, 1, go to where you're appreciated. The internet's free. You can learn so much online. Use AI, use the internet to your advantage. Use Google to learn new skills to make sure that with whatever job that you go into, that you're prepared and you have skills that can push you along further within those jobs and roles.
Appreciation is huge, man. I mean, you and I, we met at a bar realizing we worked for the same company at the time. And I remember sitting back looking at, sitting in my desk, and I was just like, this place is not enjoyable. The culture was fun, the money was fine, but the fact of the matter is nobody gave an attaboy when you actually did something good, but gave all the praise to the people not doing anything. Yep. I think that the culture of an organization and being able to gravitate towards the culture rather than just the money is vital. So, Chris, if somebody wanted to kind of follow along, see what you guys are doing with Drip FC and your other ventures, what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you and kind of just ask you a question or two?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can follow me on Instagram at Chris Buxton LLG, or you can reach out to @DripFC on Instagram, and you can email me personally, chris@dripfcofficial.com.
Fantastic. Well, Chris, I just want to say thank you for being part of the conversation this week. Audience, if you have any questions about the soccer industry, music industry, or anything that we talked about today, reach out to Chris. Until next time, new episodes are posted every Tuesday. Shorts are posted on Instagram and TikTok @LLpodcast_. Thanks so much. Have a great week.
Thanks. I'll see you. Thank you again.